Hello, everyone. My name is Juan Pablo Izquierdo, and today I will be talking about large language models, specifically in relation to data analytics. So, what is a large language model or an LLM? It's a deep learning model pre-trained on large data sets by neural networks. Specifically, talking about neural networks, I have a graph right here on the left side, which has the input layers and the multiple hidden layers and the output layers. Each dot you see there represents a piece of data or input that influence the next layer and the next layer, which are interconnected. And so this gives the neural network an idea of what the data that's being processed could be based on probabilities. For example, the word Apple. Apple could mean the tech company, as in Apple Inc., or also the word apple, as if in a fruit. And because of semantics in the English language, we may know the relationship based on context. And what a large language model does through these layers is know the relationship of the word based on the context given. And each piece of context, let's say in a sentence, goes through these layers, which then would be the output layer to the user input that is being given. So back to what a large language model is, it's designed to learn, process, and generate text specifically. It can learn grammar, it can learn languages, it can learn structures within those languages, and just general information without much supervision, which means that it trains itself. It's composed of neural networks, as I mentioned, that extract meaning from text and understands the relationship, also known as semantic technology. The great thing about large language models is that, yes, they're large and they can get larger, meaning that it's scalable to have multiple parameters. And when you have multiple parameters in a large language model, it enhances the training of the LLM. And moving on to the next slide. So, what makes an LLM or LLMs important in general? It's mostly used for generative AI, where written content is produced based on user input. It's a flexible tool for summarizing documents. It could answer your questions, translate from language to another, complete sentences, or you can personalize the tool to your needs. It becomes smarter with semantics the more you train it with your own information. And this is the case when with the natural language processing. So it's able to process the words that we say, the words that we input through text and understand it on a deeper level as the language model is being trained. It's also very useful for automation and efficiency in the forms of a virtual assistant or a chatbot, such as ChatGPT, one of the most popular large language models out there by OpenAI. And we will be following up with the most common large language models today, that being ChatGPT, Llama 3, Gemini, Claude, DeepSeek, and Copilot. So you may notice why I put the Golden Gate Bridge on ChatGPT and also on Claude. And that's because these are companies founded in San Francisco. Well, not companies per se, these are the products of these companies. ChatGPT is owned by OpenAI and Claude is owned by Anthropic. Anthropic, I think that's how you say it, Anthropic. So what happened was ChatGPT was founded in 2015 and Anthropic was founded in 2021. And a little fun fact, Anthropic was founded by 7 former OpenAI employees. And they finished founding the company back in 2021, which was a year before ChatGPT was released to the public for use. Then Llama 3 is owned by Meta, also known as previously as Facebook, Gemini by Google, Copilot by Microsoft, with the help of OpenAI to make that happen, and DeepSeek, which was very recent, about 4 weeks ago. It was introduced to the public as a new large language model from Chinese company DeepSeek, and it cost millions of dollars less to develop, according to the team. And it's still a very popular LLM so far. So now, large language models and data analytics. analysis and conversion of structured text and unstructured data, such as numerical or also text or also characters. It can also categorize tones and emotions based on context for customer insights. And an example can be Amazon customer service feedback. I go to Amazon, I look for a product, and I go to the reviews. Now they're using a large language model to identify all the reviews, go through all that input data of the reviews of each user, and make a summary of what the users in general are feeling about this product. And it's very useful for Amazon to keep this in mind because users don't want to scroll and scroll and scroll through all the reviews. So it gives them the leverage of making it efficient for a customer to read quickly what's the general feeling and buy the product faster. So in terms of LLMs and data analytics, cleaning and formatting of data visualization, or summary. So if there are more parameters, the more efficient the LLM will be for visualizing this data, let's say into graphs or also into table formats for Excel, and just summarizing text or numbers in general. Also, LLMs, with the help of data analytics, helps in enhance natural language processing and understanding for inclusive collaboration. What does that mean? It means that if I work in the business department compared to the IT department, I'm able to understand the data in the side of technology through an LLM, and I can just ask specific questions and it'll tailor the answer to my knowledge without the technical language. So that's what it means by inclusive collaboration, as an example. It can also gain understanding of trends and patterns based on market data in the past and also in real time. So it can clean that data, it can structure the data, it can structure data that's already structured with other unstructured data and merge that data and make an understanding of trends and patterns, which can also be known as market monitoring. So the main applications for LLMs, and this can be for the public in general, such as copywriting, where it enhances your writing style of user-generated text. Knowledge-based answering, so it can answer your specific questions with specific information it was trained on or has access to. So as I mentioned, if you keep typing to the AI your needs, let's say applying for a job and you upload your resume, it knows exactly what you're looking for in terms of a job if you tell it its needs, and it can make you recommendations based on the information you're giving it. It can also provide text and character classification, where it detects a relationship or semantic technology between text and the meaning from the context based on the training. It can also generate code. So user text input can be turned into code, basic input about creating something, let's say in Python, C# or Java. And it can also give you feedback on the code that you wrote. And of course, text generation. It can generate any type of text from a false story to a complete essay, or just a paragraph or a summary, whichever type of text you're looking to develop or to review. An LLM can help you with that. So there are some cons to data analytics in relation to LLMs. And one of them is data security. If there's a breach for the sensitive data, depending on where it's stored, that data is compromised, or the access to the LLM, which has access to that sensitive data. It can also compromise the data itself or intellectual property within that the LLM may expose based on prompt engineering. There's also an output bias based on the data that the LLM has been trained on. The output may be going from one side to the other side, and it might not be a fair output if it doesn't have enough data to look into a broad perspective of points. It can also have output hallucination. It can make up results from little to enough data to back its output. It will think that out of a majority of data sets for numbers, let's say, on customers, this and this and this for customers, and this and this and that for these customers. But there's not enough data about these two customers. It may make the assumption that this type of customer is like this, like this, like this for certain, without data to back it up or enough data to back it up. There's also a lack of transparency and also accountability, actually, because tracing back how the LLM got to its output is very, very difficult because through those layers in the neurons, through those layers, it's very difficult to trace how that information got from the input to the output. And also, if a big decision within the company is made, do we blame the AI? Do we blame the person that took the decision, the group? Or what if in the future the LLM takes the decisions themselves? Also, something about LLMs is that it requires a lot of computing power to run, specifically GPU power nowadays. It takes a lot of power to run, which is why companies tend to outsource that power from other companies or just make a contract with already established LLMs such as OpenAI. So in terms of generative AI feedback on this presentation, I used Copilot, and it told me to make an introduction slide, put more visuals, be more specific about real-world applications, also current leading LLMs, the cons and the solutions, be more specific about the solutions, design consistency in terms of fonts, colors, and layouts throughout the presentation, engagement in terms of including questions or other elements that may make the audience ask questions, and also a conclusion slide summarizing key points. I also use ChatGPT for the Gen AI feedback, and it had very similar points to the feedback given by Copilot, such as the visuals, the clarity, but also refining the terminology, such as data sets, or how it improves using large data sets and feedback, and also strengthen my conclusion. I, of course, had to go with DeepSeek and see what the Chinese company had to say in terms of feedback for my presentation, and they were a little bit more detailed. Let's say they gave me a little bit more points, such as strengthen my introduction, use more visuals, which ChatGPT and also Copilot said, but also practicing delivery, summarizing key takeaways, and dive deeper into the challenges by giving specific examples. There's something unique from the DeepSeek feedback. And what I did was I put every piece of feedback from every AI I use, which was 3, and I put into ChatGPT to summarize the feedback as a whole in terms of unique points per AI. The funny thing is when I used ChatGPT, it did not want to mention the specific names of the AIs I used. So I told it, hey, for this AI, and this AI, which was Copilot, ChatGPT, and DeepSeek, I want you to specify the unique points that each of them made based on the pool of data, which shows all the feedback from the 3 AIs, into one section. And instead of telling me with the titles of the AIs that I use, it just said first AI, second AI, and third AI, which comes back to the slide where I was talking about bias. ChatGPT may be biased against its competition of large language models, but you can guess. The first AI told me to add a brief introduction to my slide and outline key points more, with more context. Have design consistency, cons and solutions. The second AI told me to strengthen my introduction, dive deeper into challenges, and mention scalability and training data. Practice delivery, I assume that is from DeepSeek. And then the third AI, refining the terminology and formatting, and posing questions to my audience, which they may be able to answer or ask from there. So it shows how biased large language models is with this quick experiment. And I know I was supposed to just use one large language model for this, but I wanted to use the three to see how consistent or inconsistent they were. And it just goes on to prove my point on some of the cons. But that doesn't mean that they're not part of a great technology that's just going to develop and become better. And thank you for listening to my presentation on large language models. Attached to the side are the sources that I used for information, and also the last three being the artificial intelligence or the LLMs that I used to make these tests happen. Again, thank you for listening. Hope you have a good day.